Hey, what up? Jericho here with another Diablo 4 Season 1 Rogue video. Patch 1.1.1 just went live this week, and we are going to be taking yet another look at Uber Lilith. Now, if you've watched my other video, or anyone else's for that matter, you'll know that what people were doing before is using the aspect of bursting venoms and the cage heart of creeping death to just melt her in one stagger window in both phases and just completely skip all the mechanics. Now, since the patch dropped, there has been some drama as people are commenting that the bursting venom spool actually doesn't trigger at all or triggers very rarely, and there was nothing about it in the patch notes. Now, as I mentioned in my other video, it wasn't broken, it was actually fixed because this thing was buggy as hell. Now, let's go ahead and do some napkin math here. It's a 10% lucky hit off of critical strike chances off poison imbued skills, right? I have 39% lucky hit chance on my twisting blades right now. Let's call it 40% to make the math easier. Now, assume around 50% critical strike chance means every time twisting blades does damage, you have a 20% chance to get a lucky hit. And of those 20%, just 10% are going to spawn the pool, so that's just 2%. A lot of people were arguing that the orbit from Blade Dancers was actually justifying this amount of procs, but it's just off of the poison imbued skills. So even if you take into account the orbit from those impales that are poison imbued, that are also poison imbued, there's no justification for it being 100% up all the time like it was before. So this is actually a good change and was actually confirmed and added to the patch notes. You have it right there. Fixed imbues as part of ongoing improvements to game performance. Imbues were refactored. This includes a change which fixed several edge cases where the imbuement would fail to end properly and was incorrectly allowing non-imbued skill casts to trigger certain legendary effects. There you go. Translation, burning venoms, it was being triggered by everything, not just what it was supposed to be triggered by. That's why it was up all the time. Now, with that in mind, you might be thinking, oh, now I have to play Barber like all of the other classes. But actually, you can find the solution to this, and with a few minor changes, the build actually still does work, as you'll see. I did try it with the exact same setup as before, and RNG is painful. The pool spawns very rarely and definitely almost never when you want it to, like right before the stagger window. So you actually have to go through the ad phases. But if you're looking for an easy mode, it's still possible with the same setup as before, just tweaking a few things around. Now I will be adding max roll links to everything we're talking about in the description of the video, and in case you watched the other video, the setup is very similar. Just skip to the bookmark below labeled changes just to see what I changed from that. And that being said, let's take a look at the gear. We have disobedience on the helm for that extra bit of armor, 4 ranks of poison imbuement, manglers for extra stagger on the chest, and all defensive stats. That's same chest and same helm as before. I have 40% imbuement skill damage on this for a little bit of extra damage. Fists of Fate, relatively lucky here. I got a 280% roll on the effect. That's a net damage increase. Also max roll on the immobilized chance, and really high roll on the daze chance for extra stagger. Same pants as before. I have Might on here. You would be better off putting on Exploiter for the extra 20% crowd control for some more stagger, but I don't really need it, and these are the pants that I use to push higher tier Nightmare Dungeons, so I just stuck with it. It is what it is. Penitent Greaves, chill effect, adds stagger, movement speed, nice. The double corruption aspect on the crossbow for 80% multiplicative poison damage. Same one as before. Stats are pretty bad. I haven't tried to reroll it since it's cost like 4 million to reroll now. Blade Dancer on the weapon, same as before. Stats are okay. I got really lucky here. Ashira, max roll 30% attack speed, which is pretty huge, and lucky hit also helps as well. This is the ring that we'll be using the bursting venoms on. I also have the caged heart of Clipshot on it, and if you watch the end of my other video, you'll know that you want to have a backup ring. This is another bursting venoms ring I have in my inventory with any other heart. I have the caged heart of Revenge here for the 20% damage suppression. You can use anything as long as it's not clip shot, because if you do get an ad phase, you'll just ping pong the ads from side to side, never be able to get to them, and probably die. Now, here's where the changes start. This is the amulet we were using before, Caged Heart of Creeping Death for huge multiplicative damage to poisons during the stagger window. Now, since the pool isn't up all the time from bursting venoms, cooldown reduction actually matters, and I didn't have it on this, so I actually switched to this one that has a max roll on cooldown reduction. Max roll accelerating for the 50% bonus from being an amulet, the 38% extra attack speed. You also have the Vicious Heart of Cluster Munitions, which I put on this because it was an orange socket, so there's that. And this used to be the Inner Calm Ring, and I put a better version that I found of the Cage Shard of Creeping Death on this one instead. Now, the aspect that allows this to still work is Pestilent Points. Every third cast of Puncture is poison imbued. Now, I'm not sure if this is how this is intended to work, or it's another bug, but this does trigger the pool as well, and it is enough to ensure uptime enough to melt the boss. So you might, I'm assuming that because it's 3 blades to puncture, each one of them has a chance to trigger the pool independently, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. But if you do the math, we have 38% attack speed from the accelerating, 68 with the 30 from Ashira. We are also using the close quarters combat key passive, so that's 88%. And I also have 15% basic attack skill on my helm, that's 103%. And the hard cap is actually 100%, so I'm hard capped for puncture attack speed, so this works out really nicely. In terms of the abilities, I didn't really change much. It's the same as before. Just gonna go through it. The one thing that I did change is I moved to countering poison trap from subverting poison trap. You do lose 10% poison damage to trapped enemies, but the 30% chance to reset your poison imbue comes in useful if the pool doesn't want to spawn. And everything else is still the same. I'm still not using Siphoning Strikes, although it was buffed. It's 85% instead of 75% after the patch. And the Paragon board, I'm just quickly gonna go over it. So we have Turf on Cunning Stratagem, Deadly Ambush with Bane, Tracker on Exploit Weakness, and the starter in the starter board, I'm going with Efficacy. There's other options out there. You have then Combat on the Cheap Shot build, and finally Exploit on the big Strength node here on the No Witness board. Everything is in the description as you want. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the kill. Same as before, lay down a trap and shadow step onto her. We will be doing less damage because we're missing the 30% from Inner Calm. So the trick here is to not stagger her too quickly, just to be able to DPS her down a little bit and apply poisons. You'll notice the pool isn't up all the time, but the Pestilent points procs keep it up enough to get the boss down in one window, and that's all we care about. Also note, I'm not using the clip shot ring for this kill. You'll see me switching to it now for phase 2 for more stagger, and this is again just to balance damage and stagger out for P1 to make sure I get her down in one window. Lay down as many traps as you can on her spawn point here before she spawns in phase 2 and shadow step onto her. Your goal is to stagger her before she gets off the 4 initial blood boils, which trivializes the rest of the fight. Now the pool isn't as reliable as it was before, but you should still be able to shave off roughly half her health here, and then you want to move up top where she's gonna go, lay down a poison trap, and when she gets there, shadow step onto her, and you should be able to get off a second stagger here. Now at this point, you're probably gonna take her to 1% health where she's just gonna bug out a little bit and the fight is basically in the bag. Now all you really need to do is just follow her around as she flies from platform to platform, avoid the break mechanics, and slowly fill up her stagger bar until it's almost full. But do not stagger her until she reaches the last platform, or she will bug out, become immune, and spam mechanics until she kills you, and you probably want to avoid that. Once she does get to the final platform, do the usual trap shadow step and stagger her for a third time. And by the end of that window, she should be dead, and you should have your mount and your achievement, or if you've already killed her before, you can tell everybody that you're a contrarian and you've killed her without Barber in 1.1.1. Which reminds me, I really need to try out Barber. I think I'm the only person at this point that has never used it. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, feel free to give it a like, subscribe for further content, and let me know your thoughts in the comment below. Let's see if she drops anything now. Maybe? Maybe? Nope. Anyway, have a nice day.